Good morning, everybody. I'm George Coll. Thanks for coming back for part 3 of Road to Hanksville. That's in Utah. So today what you'll be discovering is we finished off the sky to give us some sort of sense of a more finished part of the painting that we can judge our values from. So that's been finished off today. And also we did more balance today. So we added more darks, more lights in the appropriate places. Also had to have a drawing change and work the river out a little bit. To see how I did that, just stay tuned and we'll go through it step by step. As you can see, the painting is not finished because it's larger than we normally do here in class. So next week we're going to go back into session 5, 6, or 4, 5, and 6 and really do a good job on a large painting. And after this we're going to go through another large painting. So we're going through a large painting phase and hope you can continue to watch this and learn a lot from it. So with that, subscribe to this station. I need subscribers, and get outside and paint and get some good critiques. All right, again, I'm not your only source of knowledge. I want you to do those other things that are so important. Okay, with that, enough said. Let's go ahead and get started with today's painting. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming by for part 3 of Road to Hanksville, Utah. And this week we are working and introducing you all to larger canvases and how to lay that out and deal with the unique problems that come along with working on larger canvas. The part 1 is we did some simple drawings where our shapes should be, and then we roughed in some color values. Yesterday we spent time balancing. Is this too dark? Does this need to go darker, lighter? And we'll be doing that again today. We're still going to be in part 2 because, well, larger paintings take more time. I'm going to make a determination at the end of the session today if we will continue the lessons on this painting into next week. As I finished up yesterday, what I was saying I wanted to start with was getting the sky filled in closer to completion so I can use something as a judgment on what's going to be, too light or too dark when I have a nice big area close to finished. I can use it as a comparison. So I still have drawing errors, and I want to get some more darks in this area, and I still have to figure out the water situation down here. All right, so I usually start with fixing my drawing errors, but today I want to start with getting the sky in. So let's start with some lights and darks in the clouds. So of course, let's get some whites here. I'm starting off with a number 6 flat. I'm just using straight white in a few places here in the clouds. And now I want to make a gray, so I'm going to make I'm using some gray from the Richardson Ice Blue. And I'm going to use an interesting gray. I'm going to use an alizarin, Viridian, to make a gray. I'm mixing that in now, what you can see from my overhead, with the Richardson gray. I'll see if it's too dark. I think that's pretty good. And I'm going to put that in various places. Alrighty, I'm working myself along the top there. Now I'm going to make a third mixture. I'm putting out some white. I'm moving that into my gray. I'm making a mid-tone, and I'm going to add a little bit of purple. And I'll put that in as the mid-tone. I don't want to lose my darks, so I'm staying away from them, though I'm softening some of the edges with the mid-tone. I'm going to go back to the alizarin, viridian, and gray. And I'm going to lean a little bit more on the viridian side. And add some more darks in there. Got to be careful. I'm going to go back to my white. I'll mix just a little bit of the white into that gray I just made. And I'm trying to use different sides of my brush to get the paint off the many sides of my brush. One thing I'm trying to do is to cover up that original purple pink that I started with. And now I'm softening some of those darks that are on the bottom. See, these are still too hard, these darks, so I'm softening those with a mid-tone white, or light, I'm sorry. I'm going to just add a tad of Naples into it. I mean, go easy on that. I noticed in my earlier paintings when I got worms in the clouds, I made them too strong. So I'm really cautious about introducing that to my students, that you don't go overboard with the worms in the clouds. Just a little bit of Naples and a lot of gray-white. And you YouTubers are seeing me mix this in the overhead and try not to overdo it. I'm going to go back to my pure white and reintroduce that in a few places. Edgar Payne was so good. He's one of my cloud people that I've watched from the very beginning. I just ordered another Edgar Payne book from Amazon and anxiously waiting for it to arrive. You can see the influence that he's made in my painting, that my chunkiness, you know, he kind of carves things out with square brushes, it seems like. And yes, he's been a big influence probably on that idea. Oh, that was a sloppy one there, wasn't it? I'm going to change now to a bigger brush and soften some of those edges, and then I'm going to get to the blue sky around it. Looking pretty good so far. I like it. So now I'm loading up my bigger brush, looks like a 12, and I'm going to soften some of these strong strokes I have. Soften some of my darks. In clouds, you gotta say it, you know, gently. Sorry for my chin coming across the camera. Hard to reach over there. And now I'm picking up a great big strong bead of my mixture. Jan and Anthony, how are you doing? Do you have any questions on cloud application? What you see me doing here with my dark is making it vertical, where the other ones are more cone-shaped. All right. The other thing you can do if you have a big knife, you can soften your edges also with your knife, and that gives a nice effect also. Now what I want to do is work around the surrounding clouds here. So I'm going to move over all my paint, put it in one pile, and I'm going to make a Viridian mixture. Put it right here to the lower part of my glass. And on the upper part, I'm going to put, let's see what I can do with some, what is this stuff I'm using? I usually use a ceruleum, and today I decided to get back into this neighborhood with this one that is a phthalo, kind of a green blue. And it's beautiful. So I mixed two piles here, and I'm going to switch brushes and see if this is, it's a number 10, I think. It's big. And I'm going to get some of, oh darn it, I didn't make enough of it. One thing about these pretty colors you get, they're weak. These exotic colors, these phthalos. And they can run out of product pretty quick. That's a strong statement, isn't it? I'm going to do a little bit more of that. And soften some of that in. And then I'm going to go down to my Viridian. I didn't clean my brush thoroughly, so I still have some of that phthalo in there. And I'll get some of that in various places. I have some green in my brush from yesterday, I think, because I didn't thoroughly work it out. Now what you can do with some of your phthalo is to soften some of your edges, run it into the cloud. And now we have the strong line between, so I'm going to soften that. I just mixed some Viridian in here. and I'll bring that in. Now I'm going to go over to the phthalo and work that down into the viridian. So it's back and forth. Looks like I need some white over here. What I like about Edgar Payne and other artists that they don't smooth it out. Payne doesn't do that either. I mean, it's not completely worked out. There's still some chunkiness in it. I like that. I think I'll break it in a few places here and finish off the sky over here. All right, I'm going to step back and take a look at this. And you've got a good sky lesson there. Again, I put the heavier clouds on this side to counterbalance the dark on this side. It was a balance thing, and sometimes that works pretty efficiently, and I think it works here just fine. All right. Whew. I'm working hard. I'm going to take a sip of coffee here and enjoy that sky. I'm going to take a layer off too. I'm a little too warm. And taking a different, while I'm doing this, I'm kind of taking a different look at different angles of my painting to see how that looks. Well, with that done, I want to continue, as I said, to work on some balance. Getting the sky in has been big because it says that the values I have down below are still working, and I don't have to change too much with the values. I do believe, though, I need finish work and break up some of these greens, and I think I still need some more darks on the sides of these hills. But let me get down into my problems down here, because a lot, as I said today, is going to be balancing this thing back and forth. I'm going to mix my two sky colors together, and I'm going to put that up to the side. Cleaning my palette for the next mixture. Before I even started today, I really concentrated on getting my paints out that I ran low on from yesterday, and got everything ready, my paper towels and things like that, to get ready for today. All right, I'm stepping back, I'm checking my cameras, we're still on good record, and let's get into here. So, olive, ultra blue, olive, ultra blue. Let's get some cad yellow light in there. That's my cat Cinders, making her presence known in the background. I think that what I need is more of these. I'm just squinting down and looking at these bigger areas of bushes, and I want to try to get some of that in here. I'm going to add a little olive and a little burnt sienna now. Oop, looks like I picked up some light from down below. And I'll need some of this in here too. And when you see me doing these big, bold strokes, what I'm doing and thinking about is balance. Trying to get these, when I squint down and I see that there's a lot of darks over here on the right, I'm building some of that up with my painting. It's kind of a gray-brown. I'm going to make some gray. Burnt sienna. I'm going to mix that into the green. More burnt sienna. A little bit of alizarin. More alizarin. More brown. I'm mixing still more green into it. The green and red together start making grays. And I'm going to try some of this now. And these are these darker browns.
What's that mixture again?
What I'm mixing, Jan, is gray, burnt sienna, alizarin, and green. And the green is an olive. I'm going to add a little bit more juice to it, and that would be more terp. And I'm darkening up some of this area over here. And I see some over in here that I want to work on. And I'm breaking up this big green I have here. And I think I mentioned that I would be doing that today. So again, we're still in the balance phase, and that's what we're doing. Oh yeah, I like that. All right, I see some of that down in here. And I'll bring some in here too. I'm going to add a little bit more in this area. And then we're going to work some purples on top of it, okay? And you say, okay, why? Well, when you see these darks that we put in here, these browns that I just put on, they say brown, but also it seems like when I look at nature and I see these colors, I also see some purple. So I'm adding some purple to that mixture. You YouTubers can see it. Jan, you can't see it, but I just added some purple into here. Now watch what it does to these browns. It just makes it more subtle and easier to look at. All right. Yeah, I'm going to add some up in here. On top of these browns back in here. And again, I'm going to knock these greens down with the purple way in the back. I'm going to lighten that up with a little bit more blue. I may have killed too much of it. Adding some cerulean. to my big brush. And I'll soften some of that back in here. And I'm going to work some up in here. Oops, sorry I hit the computer. All right. Next, sip of coffee and let's work on river. Gotta thoroughly clean my brush. Cleaning my glass. And now I want to make a dark, so it's ultra blue, burnt sienna, viridian, alizarin. I'm going to lean more toward the viridian ultra blue side in that mixture. And what I see is kind of a jog in the river here, in the photograph. And I'm going to make more of a cream color mixture down there instead of the blue. So I'm getting some cad yellow light, which is called Flesh with Richardson, or if you just have Naples and white. I'm going to add a little green olive to it. Sorry about that noise, I'll fix that. When I make mixtures, certain things on my table make noise. So let me put this in. And I might make that a little darker. I'm going to add a little burnt sienna to it. A little bit more olive. A little bit more olive. And do a little bit more right here. And take it off. I'm going to run a little bit of blue over here and run it through in a few places. All right, so I think I'm sufficiently saying river down there, or arroyo. And now it's time to shore up some of my darks here on the base. Just adding some of that dark mixture I had left over from whatever I had before. Now the question is what to do here. So what I'm going to do is do some alizarin, yellow ochre, alizarin, more yellow ochre. I want to lean a little bit more on yellow ochre. And make these two connected. As to, that'll work.
That gray in there, George, is just yellow ochre and liz.
I mixed that into that flesh color. So I mixed it into this river color. I think that I need to squeeze the river in a few places and lose it. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to get some Shiva up in here and run it out. Still have some shape problems on the river, and I'm going to resolve that now. I'm mixing a blue, burnt sienna, viridian. And let me run some Shiva over in here in these places. And when I get a smaller brush, I'll carve some edges up there. And I'm going to use some more of that Shiva as I go back, and I'll accent some of that as we keep going back. Oh, that's pretty. Whew. Now, what I want in this area is dominant more darks than lights. And I think I'm starting to achieve that. I have more darks than my lights in there. But let me do some finish work over in here. I've got some undone canvas. I'm going to use some olive and get some canvas covered. Got kind of sloppy in the lower section here. I want to have that done. All right. I'm checking time, and we're coming pretty close to our end today. So what I want to say before I forget is that this 18 by 30 is not going to be done in 3 35-minute sessions. We're going to have to start on this again next week. So if your painting looks undone and so forth, this is the first time we're going to go into a 4th, 5th, or maybe even 6th session. And what we can do with that is build on some of that stuff we studied last week, which was working wet on dry, and really getting into how to finish a painting and working on textures and foregrounds and getting some more interest in these great big areas that look kind of rough right now. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye to our YouTubers and say thank you so much for coming by today. Don't forget to subscribe, it's very important. And tune in here next week. This will be the first time we go into a fourth, fifth, or sixth session and really come up with a really good painting. So, with that, YouTubers, thanks for coming by. See you on the next one.